What's up? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the politics and BS.
Meta, the parent company of Facebook, is facing a massive Federal Trade Commission lawsuit that is actually going to trial this coming April over Facebook's alleged monopolistic activities and, of course, their merger with Instagram. Now, that's not the story that I'm here to talk to you about. However, that is a great way to explain literally every decision that Mark Zuckerberg is making right now. A week ago, Mark Zuckerberg hired a man by the name of Joel Kaplan, who happens to be a former deputy chief of staff for George W. Bush. He's a big MAGA guy. Hired Joel Kaplan to be the new director of public policy for Meta. And earlier this week, Zuckerberg also announced that Donald Trump ally Dana White from the UFC is now just going to be on Facebook's board of directors, right? Because why not? Let's kiss Donald Trump's ass a little bit more. And Zuckerberg himself also gave $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration. And then after all of that, Joel Kaplan went on Fox & Friends early Tuesday morning at the start of the show to announce that Facebook has decided we are no longer going to fact-check posts. We are getting rid of our group of independent contractors who do the fact-checking, and instead we're moving to a system of community notes, which of course is what Twitter moved to after Elon Musk bought it, because they didn't want to fact-check anybody. They didn't want to upset conservatives. And then shortly after Kaplan announced this on Fox & Friends, Zuckerberg released his video and posts on social media announcing all the changes they were making. But of course, the biggest one is no more fact-checking. And the few people we do employ in that area, we're moving them from California to Texas because he says that the folks in California are just a little too biased. Because as we all know, when you're looking to go somewhere without any political bias, of course you go to Texas, right? No, Texas is where you go to avoid regulations. Texas is where you go to avoid any kind of legal issues because they have the most corporate-friendly courts in the country because Governor Greg Abbott, of course, set up a separate court system for corporations, run by people from corporations. There's no secret about why this is happening. No more fact-checking because we're trying to kiss Donald Trump's ass, and of course, he and other conservatives are the ones who get fact-checked the most because they lie the most. You may not want to hear that truth, but it's the truth nevertheless. So, that's part of it. But why even bother kissing up to those people? Well, it goes back to the point I made at the beginning. Facebook is facing a massive FTC lawsuit in April. And if they lose that lawsuit, they lose a lot of money. But we got a new administration coming in, a new FTC, a new DOJ. Maybe if we play nice, maybe that lawsuit goes away. That is what this is about. That is why this is happening. Facebook needs a favor from the government, so they are essentially bowing down to the incoming government to try to get that favor granted. Now, I will say, as horrible as this decision is, there was one silver lining inside of it. Because Zuckerberg also said that Facebook was going to lift the content restrictions on any content involving civics, which includes politics. Here's why that matters. Starting last January, Facebook did implement a policy where they were no longer promoting any civic content, which meant that, YouTube channels like ours, because we also cross-post on Facebook, David Pakman, Sam Cedar, Ben Dixon, everybody, all of our content, and folks on the right as well, was no longer being pushed to new people. And it was no longer being pushed to the people who actually subscribe to our Facebook pages. So a lot of these channels, ours included, we took a significant hit, but some of these people were making, $40,000 to $50,000 per month off of their videos on Facebook. This is how a lot of them were making their livelihoods, making their living. And that number dropped from, 30 or 40 down to 5. So a lot of people got screwed. And hopefully this part of the decision from Zuckerberg helps those people to build back and be able to do this, permanently. So that is the only good thing about this decision. The decision to move to community notes instead of fact-checking, that's stupid, but that was done to appease Trump because Zuckerberg wants that FTC lawsuit to go away.
We already know that a lot of changes that are either unnecessary or inflammatory were going to come down the pipeline since Trump has been elected and will soon be inaugurated. But I wanted to talk about this real quick because this is just beyond the lines of what people should be doing, but unfortunately, people should be expecting. And here goes. So, users on the platform Facebook, which is owned by Meta, are now allowed to refer to women as household objects or property, or transgender or non-binary people as it, according to a section of the policy prohibiting such speech that was crossed out. A new section of the policy notes Meta will allow allegations of mental illness or abnormality when based on gender or sexual orientation, given political and religious discourse about transgenderism and homosexuality. Previously, such comments would have been subject to removal under the policy. The changes to Meta's hateful conduct policy were first reported by Wired. Meta had hinted in its announcement about its content moderation policy changes Tuesday morning that it would get rid of restrictions on certain topics such as immigration and gender identity and allow more political discussions. But the updated policy shows just how quickly Meta is moving to enact CEO Mark Zuckerberg's vision for free expression, quote unquote. It made an announcement that they would be getting rid of the network of independent fact checkers and will rely on community notes, and would focus more on extreme violations such as child abuse and terrorism. Zuckerberg acknowledged that the new approach will mean that we're going to catch less bad stuff, but will also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. And there's more notes and things, but Trump welcomed the changes in a press conference Tuesday and said he thinks the changes are probably due to threats he's made to Zuckerberg in the past. But some experts who study the online information ecosystem raise alarms that the changes could lead to more viral false claims and hate speech on Meta's platforms. And that's exactly what it's going to do. The fact that women are going to be allowed to be called household objects or property, like, what in the world could people think is good about that? It's definitely like they want to march back the hands of time, and it makes me laugh. It's not laughable, but it just makes me laugh when I see things like this, because it's like, this is the type of stuff that when I see this, I wonder, those so-called Christians who said that this was the man that God called to be president, is this Christ-like? Is this godly?
Breaking news. Washington Post cartoonist quits after her cartoon criticizing Bezos gets killed. Breaking. Drama at the Washington Post. Editorial cartoonist Ann Telnace just quit her job after the paper rejected her cartoon of Amazon's Jeff Bezos kneeling to President-elect Trump. So what's the cartoon about? Well, imagine Bezos and other billionaires groveling at Trump's feet with bags of money in hand. Pretty intense, right? The Post spiked it, and Telnace is furious. She says it's the first time she's ever had a cartoon pulled for its political message. According to her, the cartoon was critical of tech moguls cozying up to Trump post-election. And that's where things got murky. But here's the twist. The Washington Post editor claims it was not about the politics, but about avoiding repetition. They'd already published a piece on the topic, so it was redundant. Just a coincidence? Or is there more to this? And let's not forget the context. Bezos has been cozying up to Trump, donating to his inauguration fund, and even dining with him at Mar-a-Lago. So yeah, Telnace had a point. What do you think? Is this a case of the Post censoring political speech, or is this just a simple editorial call? Sound off below. Let's hear your thoughts.
So there's an emerging story this morning from Ann Telnace, a Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist who formerly worked for the Washington Post until yesterday, after she resigned when a cartoon that she had submitted as a draft was rejected by her editor. The cartoon in question criticizes Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Patrick Soon-Shiong, and Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos. In her Substack article posted yesterday, Telness says the following: the cartoon that was killed criticizes the billionaire tech and media chief executives who have been doing their best to curry favor with incoming President-elect Trump, and goes on to say, while it isn't uncommon for editorial page editors to object to visual metaphors if it strikes that editor is unclear or incorrectly conveying the message intended, such editorial criticism was not the case in this cartoon. To be clear, there have been instances where sketches have been rejected or revisions requested, but never because the point of view inherent in the cartoon's commentary. That's a game changer and dangerous for a free press. This is a really big deal. This is one of those warning signs of fascism, is the suppression of opposition messages, of anything that criticizes the regime. So what I need people on TikTok to do is get the word out there. Please share this, spread it everywhere. Let Streisand affect this cartoon and make it clear that we do not consent to the suppression of free media.
One of the things that has really bugged me so much when it came to this most recent election and hearing these so-called Christians claim that God chose Donald Trump. God wants Donald Trump to be the president. And then when he won, quote unquote, which, by the way, over 70 million people voted for Kamala. I sometimes feel like I need to remind people of that because they act as if Donald Trump won by a landslide. He did not. Or they act as if Kamala got 0 votes, he got all of the votes, or maybe Kamala got 5 to 15% of the votes and he got an overwhelming 85 to 95% of the votes. That is not what happened. There were millions of people who voted against him and voted for Kamala. That's just the way it is. But I don't think the billionaires and the multimillionaires who have been paying up, kissing the orange ass of Donald Trump and have been donating money to his inauguration and all of these other things has anything to do with God. Because I thought that the Bible talked about Jesus and how Jesus was for the least of these, but yet the least of these aren't even considered. Okay? So this president is all about the haves and the have-mores. It's not about we the people. And it is insane that there is a very top tier of 1 to 3% of people that hold all of the wealth, and then everyone else doesn't. I'm not saying that everyone else is poor or everyone else is struggling, but everyone else is the ones like us who bear the burdens of the taxes in this country. Meanwhile, people like Mark Zuckerberg, like Jeff Bezos, like Bill Gates and the others, they don't pay what they should be paying in taxes. And if they love this country so much, they can wipe out the national debt in a moment's notice if they all just paid what they should be paying. But they want to continue to get loopholes and tax breaks and all of these different things that they get to get out of paying what they should be paying. I don't want to hear anything about they create the majority of jobs that help people. A lot of these people are struggling that they actually have working in their companies. And so I don't want to hear about God or Jesus Christ when it comes to Donald Trump and this election and him pretty much threatening people and making people feel afraid to speak out. And even those that actually have money, billions, are afraid to piss him off because they don't want to lose what they have. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.